contribution to reforestation and beautification in Dominica?
We are going to make our village the most beautiful one
by planting flowers along the roadside.
I'm planting trees at my school, so we're gonna have fruits for snack. Yeah!
At the Forestry Division, we are striving to mitigate against coastal degradation. Trees contribute to soil stability, clean air, and pure water.
Building a climate-resilient country requires the contribution of every Dominican. Give back to nature. Plant a tree for your future.
That will be $78.50.
What? All that money for two little things?
And an additional 50 cents if you want a plastic bag.
Or you get enough of my money already. I worked with my reusable bag. It's stronger and all I need is one. Or you shouldn't even be giving plastic bags. Or you're not hearing all the announcements from Ministry of Environment then. For the little bit of time we use a plastic bag, it takes thousands of years to decompose. That's not good for the environment. And another thing.
Wait, Papa. Next, please.
My lady, she writes, plastic clogs drains and cause flooding. Animals on land and water can also be killed by plastic pollution.
Opt out of using plastic bags when possible, or use reusable shopping bags for carrying groceries and other items. Remember, our environment, our responsibility.
Dominic c'est un pays qui belle, qui naturel. Dominic c'est pays nous. Mais qui ça ou ka fait pour aider Dominic? Nous ne pour protéger forêt nous, l'eau nous, environnement nous et même santé nous. Quand ça change, là où qu'elle fait commission, mener un sac, empêcher pollution plastique. Plus plastique, ça fait environnement nous l'aide, boucher dalle nous, et ça tue bête nous et poisson qui englobe nous. Changer aussi, qui nous n'est pour chaîne là tout nous net. Pas ni jeter zodis n'importe côté, pas garder pour excuse, pas faire compte doum doum, servi en boîte zodis. Écoutez bien, ou ça même en des beltes Dominique, ou ça planter fleurs pour chimer en communauté, planter pe bois qui ça en des mènes forêt à vivre, et pour protéger nous, et puis fruits pour manger.
Good morning to listeners of DBS Radio, and welcome to another episode of the Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment and Constituency Empowerment weekly radio program, Talking Environment or Responsibility. Firstly, let me apologize to listeners. We had some technical difficulties that we were trying to rectify, which we hope that everything is on stream now. So we going along with our program this morning. I have a packed house with me this morning, both in studio and on the social media platforms. So and my name is Liam Sebastian. I'm the project officer in the ministry. Anybody wishing to join us this morning can do so on the following numbers: 1-800-327-448-3284, on the overseas line 305-432-9744. So, like to say good morning to the Parliamentary Secretary, Honorable Darren Lloyd, the Permanent Secretary, Miss Lisa Valmore, to all heads of department, members of staff in the ministry, by extension the government service, and to everybody listening to this program. This morning we'll be discussing some updates in the Kalinago territory, an event which happened last week that we will be discussing. So without further ado, let me just, as I said, I have a packed house, so let me just say good morning to my guests, and let me just give all of them the opportunity to introduce themselves as we go ahead with this week's program. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not too sure who's going to go first, but I have the opportunity to introduce yourselves.
Good morning.
Good morning, Liam, and good morning to the listening public. I'm really happy to join. I'm arrested for the time, but I think we had a very, very important activity in the Kalinago space last week. And that activity really cemented the development movement within the Kalinago space, because we had serious international partners present in the names of Israel, UNDP, and the JEF. And so we've been able to create some synergies across the development work in the Kalinago space. And I'm so happy that they are here this morning to extend that conversation to the listening public. And I think it's an important piece that we have to always portray and show whenever we're dealing with our national development, but also importantly with unique space like the Kalinago territory. So last week we we had this event in the Kanago Barnoti where we looked at various projects that are linked directly to the Kanago space that involves the transfer of knowledge, the protection of the environment, and also the international partnership going forward. I'm really happy for the leadership at the various agencies who supported our project, and also to the leadership at the ministry itself with PS, and more importantly, Alice Charles, who has taken on the leadership in ensuring that there's synergies on this. So I really also want to endorse this program, and I really want to leave it to our partners to really tell that story. And like I said in the gathering last Thursday, that we need more champions for Dominica, and also we need more champions for the Kanago space, the Kanago people. And I think having you on board and investing in our development work is so important for us. That we are co-partners in this, and we can do a lot of work together to push the resilient agenda, and to, more importantly, celebrate the cultural heritage of the Kanago people.
All right, thank you, Minister. I'm not too sure who's following up, but you can go ahead.
I want to say good morning to listeners of DBS Radio and welcome again. Thank you, Liam, for such great leadership of our program. I'm currently in the Kalinago space. I am at the SAPIT's office, and we have again our partners that we are very happy to partner with this morning, UNDP, Jeff, and Israel. And we look forward to a successful program. Last week we did have a ball in the Kalinago space, and we will tell you all about the great things that are happening in the Kalinago space.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. I am Cindy Moses Joseph, the Country Director for Dominica and the Eastern Caribbean Israel, and I'm pleased to be here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sharianne Gregoire, and I am the Project Coordinator for the Leveraging Ecotourism for Biodiversity Protection project, and we look forward to the program that we're going to have today.
All right, good morning, everyone. I am Sawana Fabian. I am Project Analyst at UNDP, implementing the Strengthening Community Resilience within Kalinago Territory Project. Pleased to be here, pleased to be Dominican.
All right, thank you very much to Sawana, to Sharianne, to Alice, to Cindy, and the Minister for joining me today. As you said, there was the activity last week, and Alice just made mention of the ball overtime that you guys had. Unfortunately, some of us were not able to be part of that, but we had some of the activities that took place last week, handing over of the equipment to the District Disaster Committee, the signing of the letter of agreements between UNDP and Israel Aid, the handover equipment to the Forestry, Wildlife and National Parks Division, and the signing of contracts of the Kalinago Knowledge Initiative. Minister, I want to start with you in terms of the activities that I just mentioned, and just to give us a brief overview of what that multi-activity partnership ceremonies was about.
Yes, so Liam, so we've been doing a few things in the Kanago space. So we started a project with the help of UNDP a few years ago, and so we have a part 2 with some funding from the Indian government. So we're going to celebrate the bilateral partnership with the Indian government, and to invest $1 billion in the first instance in the Kanago space to treat with that issues that we think are worthy of protecting and developing. And so the phase 2 is what we did in the Kanago space last week, where we are pushing forward a number of initiatives. So all of these, Liam, and also with the work that Israel have been doing with our emergency response group, or you want to call it disaster preparedness group, it's so important in continuing to build on the resiliency that we are proposing for the island. And when in the entire narrative, we realize that more than ever, the Kalinago people, the Kalinago as a community living in our islands islands across the archipelago for many years have shown resilience, are able to survive amid a number of global stress. And so the activity really pulled together all of those 3 agencies and ensure that we were not duplicating activity, and that the resources that are so limited in the global space at this time can be utilized to benefit the Carnival community. And so the synergy between having equipment, because it's one thing, Liam, to have a policy of how you treat with emergency response, but Israel really came on board and ensured that that the disaster group, the disaster response group, um, have the equipment to do so in terms of disaster. We speak candidly about how we protect our forests, but we realize that we do need to ensure that we can reforest after a period of time. And so the forest department was gifted a number of critical tools and equipment to continue that work on behalf of the Carnival State. And so this is important, Liam, because we are not only looking at the policy perspective that as a minister push throughout the cabinet and through the parliament, but also how do we implement on the ground? And to go even a little further, Liam, with the project with the UNDP, how do we capture the knowledge, the traditional knowledge that seems to be escaping us as the elders move from our space? And so capturing that was so important for us. So we are not just talking about policy, we're talking about implementation of hardcore projects, but also importantly, safeguarding what I would like to call the intangible cultural heritage that you can't really see, but it lives in the storytelling, in costume building, and even in a very structured way in the kind of building in the Carnival space. So this was the sort of synergy that we wanted to create, and I think just checking out the atmosphere in the Carnival space at that ceremony, I think more than ever we see partners in the UNDP, in Israel, in Jeff, and I think the young ladies were here. They were fully immersed in understanding the heritage and culture, and like I told them, I think they will be champions. I believe in the conversation I may have been a bit tough, very candid in how I think we should treat this moving forward. But I also want to say that the leadership at the various agencies is very sound. And I think that more than ever, we have a cadre of young people in leadership positions like these who will continue that narrative that we've been creating. So it was this good experience where you have resiliency, empowering people, empowering children, passing on knowledge from the older to younger people, and to really expend resources in areas where that are so critical. Because Liam, we can't take it to chance that if a hurricane hits our space, that will survive. We can't take chances on hoping that the forest will continue to grow by itself and we continue to exploit it in a negative way. So all of these projects and programs we are extending within the Carnival space, and I think it's going to be a good model that could be exemplified in other communities across our space. But Liam, I really appreciate the young ladies here this morning. I really want you to interrogate them and have really express how they see these projects moving forward. I think they understand the bigger philosophy of the Carnival knowledge and the investments that should be made. And I think that they understand how we hope to preserve the culture and heritage, but also to ensure that it's part of the national development itself. So I really want to thank them for that wonderful experience last week, and to tell them that they have my support as a policymaker, as a member of parliament, as a minister, in pushing their mandate forward as well. And also, I can say publicly also in their personal capacities as citizens of our country. I'm willing and able to stand by their side to ensure that they have the support that they need to continue to do the good work that they do for our country. Because if you realize, these are daughters of our soil, they are not foreign experts coming in. They are people here and more than willing and excited to contribute. So I will tell you, if I feel that they are being troubled, I will intervene, because I really think their heart is in our country. Their heart is really in making a difference, and they would have gone out there, have different experiences, and really back here to contribute. So I just want to challenge them to push more, but also that I tell them honestly to the public that I have their backs in the work that they continue to do within the Carnival space, but also importantly, how that we can transcend the borders and also get into the wider the white people in society. And even I would suspect Liam further fit into our region itself. So thanks again, ladies, for your support. And I watch in and I keep in check. And I also will be ensuring that you have the fertile environment to continue to do the magnificent work that you're doing.
Well, Minister, firstly, I want to thank you, though, yourself for taking time off of your meeting currently in Guyana to be on the program with us. And yes, as you said, you want me to speak to the ladies, but I want to ask you before I go across to them, was there any particular reason why the Kalinago territory was chosen as the focal point for, these beautiful activities that, as you guys said?
So one of the things we realized in the entire resilient effort, we realized that a lot of the work that we're doing on the national scene or actually stems from within the Kanago space. People have been able to survive and able to bounce back. And we realize that if we empower that community, we can get better results. And those results can help us to structure and to sort of progressively build a national mandate. And so it's not by chance, because sometimes we discount what happens in the Kanago territory, what happens in any vulnerable community, and we discount it from the national conversation. It's so important to highlight it. And because we have a number of people who just for their normal lives have serious input into our development, but we don't highlight it, we don't celebrate it. We always seek outside help. We also look from the experts from a different jurisdiction. And I said in the gathering last week, who has a different face than ours, and who seems to be an expert, but we realize that this expertise lies within our elders, within our communities, normal people who are surviving. And I think we have to celebrate that. And more than ever, we have partners who are willing to come on board and to look at those best practices, help us to strengthen them, and also to magnify them in such a way that we can also add this little nugget knowledge to the rest of humanity. So it's not a simple thing. I mean, I grew up in the Canada space all my life, and sometimes I take it for granted that I grew up in a community that was able to survive the adversities of communalism, etc. But I kind of have to step back and realize that this community and you as a person, and I think if we keep on growing that community, the country itself by extension will benefit from that kind of movement. So that's why we have this activity in the space and not in a studio in Roseau or another space out. We have it in Kalinago Baranauti, which as we speak is the most resilient cultural space within our community in our country, and that we could have an immersion of ourselves in that, but also to carry that knowledge forward, where we can help a community to continue to be resilient and not to be seen as a vulnerable space looking for help, but also who can add to the national agenda.
All right, Minister, thank you very much for that. So as you said, I'll just give you a little bit of a break. As you said, you'll be listening, you'll be watching. So it's time for us to go across to the ladies. And, just to find out a little bit more about the activities and briefly, some of the work that they do. So I will start with, Israel Aid. So Mrs. Moses Joseph, you're on the ball first in terms of what we're speaking about. And, briefly, what, if you want to tell the listeners, basically what does Israel Aid...
sorry, I can hardly hear you though.
You hear me better now? You hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, sorry, apologies for that. As I said, we're starting off with you. The minister is watching closely. I mean, if he wants to step in, he will. But just for the benefit of the listeners, as to what does Israel Aid, do in Dominica, and particularly more specific to what is being or what was done in the Kalinago territory as it relates to those activities that was held last week.
Okay, thank you very much again. So Israel Aid works in Dominica really to strengthen resilience at the community level, and that includes disaster risk reduction, mental health and psychosocial support, education and livelihoods. But in the Kalinago territory specifically, we've been working closely with the community to build local capacity. So from early childhood education to the community itself, we've done disaster risk reduction activities, helping schools do safety emergency operating plans. And just recently, while we gave the equipments in the Kalinago territory, we've worked with not just the disaster people, but also community people with small businesses to find out what hazards will affect them if there is a disaster and how they can mitigate those hazards from becoming emergencies and disasters. And hence the reason we get that amount or that kind of equipment to deliver to the people.
So what sort of equipment that was distributed for in the district distributed to the district disaster committee, and then as by extension, what really is the anticipation, or what will this equipment go towards as we talk about combating the fight against climate change and all of the different disasters that we have?
Okay, so we provide essential disaster preparedness and response equipment, things that will support communication, coordination, and immediate response during an emergency. And the idea basically is to ensure that the committee or the disaster committees have the tools that they require to respond if there's a disaster or an emergency. And we think that it will strengthen the community's ability really to respond in a quick manner, especially in the first critical hours, because by the time government has been mobilized, it will take time, and your community basically is your first responders. So if they have those equipments, so for example, we gave them chainsaws, which can clear roads, cut trees, and clear paths for people to pass. They have two-way radios, so if the telephone communication goes down, they can still communicate with each other. And basic life skills like stretchers and ropes and first aid kits, things of that sort, blankets that they may need. So these equipments basically can empower the people to respond quickly to their community and provide that support. And we hope the reason why we gave that is in a hope that we'll help build the community's capacity to help themselves, build their resilience, which is in keeping with the government mandate, build their resilience and help themselves to respond to any emergencies or disasters that may occur.
Minister, I wanted to come back in here as we talk about some of the equipment that was received, and as it relates to the government's drive against the being the first climate resilient country in the world, as well as just resilience efforts globally. How important, or what benefits do you think that brings to us as we fight the different disasters that we have in terms of the equipment that was received from Israel?
Well, Liam, it's so important to have the necessary tools within the community, within easy reach to do that kind of work. You realize that in the Canada space, for instance, it's a community that can be cut off from the general, the main city and the other villages if there's a major event. We saw it clearly after Hurricane Maria that all of the unique ravines and rivers that actually create the different species in the Canada territory can prevent easy access. And so having the tools in people who are trained, it's not just people, random people. The leadership of Van Tilgis, I must call that out, to pull together the various hamlet committees across the space and to create disaster response committees in every hamlet. And it's so important that they have those skills. And we're talking about things that they can use in real time, things that they're going to use immediately to deal seriously as first responding, because we can't take the chance that the help will come from outside, and we want to ensure that while they're doing this, and this is not happening in isolation. We are now building a center in the Badaga community. It's called the multi-purpose emergency shelter, and that in itself will be the home to the disaster committees and the work that they're going to do. But in doing so, having this major infrastructure, we also have to ensure people are ready. Have the backpacks with the necessary equipment, flashlights, and if we are caught off a pro road networks by fallen trees, that we can use a chainsaw to clear that. And so, Liam, this is big stuff. It's something that we have highlighted as being of significant importance to our people, to have the tool ready at hand to deal with this situation. And so Liam, we can't discount the importance of those equipment, but also importantly, people who are dedicating the time and energy to be part of a community response mechanism that will help to save lives.
Okay, thank you very much. And I want, by extension, to say thank you not only Israel, but in advance to Jeff as well as UNDP. I mean, time is going against us. We had a late start, so we basically have to go for it. I have two ladies here who are quiet, not by choice, but based on how we are going. So we want to bring in UNDP to the discussion here. As there was a letter of agreement signed between UNDP and Israel Aid. So for the benefit of the listeners, we would like you to tell us basically what were some of the details, in that partnership between UNDP and Israel Aid, and just some of the main activities as it relates to the topic of
Thank you, Liam. Sure. Good morning to everyone and the listeners in Radio Land. Basically, partnerships is at the heart of what we do at UNDP, and the partnership between ourselves and Israel Aid has been pretty much predicated on the fact that Israel Aid has a very long-standing relationship with the people of the Kalinago territory, and their implementation mirrors a sort of CSO approach where they recognize, that lasting changes emerges from the ground up. And so in our project, we would have been focusing on some key challenges as it relates to the Kalinago space, some development challenges as it relates to agriculture, as it relates to enhancing forest and watersheds management, and also strengthening indigenous tourism. And so the components that aligned with what Israel Aid does, and understanding the request from the people of the Kalinago territory, particularly the council, we were able to form a partnership where we'll deliver on three major components, and that is the Climate Smart Agriculture and Backyard Gardening Program, which is pretty much going to support food security at a household level, working with vulnerable households, particularly women-led households. We are looking at Community Livelihoods and Reforestation Program, which is what you would have seen in the Kalinago space last week, where we sort of launched the tree planting initiative. And so Israel will lead that component, as they are a very strong partner with the Ministry of Education, and of course work with the schools within the Kalinago territory. And in addressing resilience, we don't want to just focus on adults, but youths and children, because we understand that we're trying to shape a culture or shape generations to come. So we're looking at the right suited partner to be able to deliver on the educational component of the program, which is important for all of us. The last aspect of the agreement to deliver on is the Forest Management and Public Awareness Initiative, and that is in the form of course, brochures and flyers, but most importantly, we are building on, as the minister indicated, previous initiatives, and a previous initiative would have created some comic books in the Kalinago space that speaks about the heritage and the culture of the people, and so we're expanding that cadre of literature to include a forest management or a forest book that speaks to the involvement of the Kalinago people and the forest, the relationship they have with the forest, how they've been able to maintain that over the years, but of course in a very palatable form that kids could understand, and of course representing the indigenous people in that group, so the characters within that group will actually be mirroring those of course the Kalinago space. So these are three of the components, and I'll repeat for repeating sake, just to be clear, we're focusing on climate smart agriculture and backyard gardening, targeting women-led households. We're looking at the reforestation program, and we want it to be a whole society approach. The Ministry of Environment is very emphatic about ensuring that we're including multi sector stakeholders, and so the involvement of education, the involvement of agriculture, the involvement of the Ministry of Environment really speaks to the sort of partnership that we launched on Thursday last week. And as we know, the UNDP really works to support the government of Dominica basically implementing the strategic plans and goals. And so we're here to support, and we're very, very thankful and appreciative of the partnership between ourselves and Israel Aid. Again, Israel Aid being able to deliver more a grassroots model that will be applicable for the Kalinago space. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Sawana. As you said, we're saving, I guess, the best for last then as we go to Jeff. We don't have much time, so Shara, as we speak about Jeff and what happened last week in terms of the Kalinago Knowledge Initiative, Just tell us about that as it relates to, the activities that were held last week and Jeff's, partnership in this whole discussion.
Okay, so good morning again, everyone. The Kalinago initiative focuses on sustainable livelihoods, and that includes enhancing opportunities for the Kalinago people and reviving traditional Kalinago knowledge. So what we did last week is we had the signing of contracts for 3 trainings. So that includes canoe building, and that will be conducted by Mr. Sanford, Emmanuel Napoleon Sanford. We had a signing for the traditional Kalinago language, and that would be done by Mr. Prosper Paris. And we also will be looking at trainings in traditional costume building, and that's done by Mr. Jared Langley. So we basically had a brief demonstration for each training. Mr. Sanford, he has 70 years of experience in building canoes. So he started at the age of 9, and he was saying, they go by the moon and they look at the trees, and you have the red gourmet tree and the white gourmet tree, and such an interesting process, such a wealth of knowledge. He's a master canoe builder and a true expert in his field. And we really look forward to documenting that entire process as he goes along doing the training. And Mr. Langley, of course, he brought out the traditional costumes, and we saw what the different costumes were for the men and the women, and the what was on the the different designs that were on the costumes, and he explained what each thing meant. And so that was actually a lot of fun, just looking at the costumes. And we got to participate in the Kalinago language in terms of learning a few words. We were all given a word that we in Kalinago language. So that was a very interesting experience, I have to say. So we really do look forward to the 3 trainings, and that's just the start of our trainings. We have a lot of other activities as well. And we also have other trainings, so culinary skills and roof thatching, basket making are just a few of the things that we have to look forward to. But we have quite a number of activities that will take place in the Kalinago space.
Minister, I want you to come in here because I'm just picking up on what Shari said as it relates to some of the trainings. Is it something that you're really looking forward to in terms of preserving the Kalinago culture? Because, I heard you speaking about the roof thatching and the canoe building and so on. Is that something that is welcomed by the Kalinago people, and obviously you as the minister leading the charge?
Yes, Liam. So the thing is that a number of folks are interested in those aspects of the heritage. But we're also realizing that this knowledge lies in a few people. And so we need to expand that knowledge base and to share it. And what we'll be doing in exercise, as Shari said, that we'll follow the practitioners, we'll record the way of instruction, and we'll create manuals and dictionaries that will be there for posterity that we could reference. In the thrust for the language, Prosper himself and we have been doing a lot of work on the language front. But it has to be elevated, it has to be magnified. And so once you can give us the core of the language aspect, you can well imagine down the road that a young Kalinago person could take on the task to piece the language together in a more scientific way, going through a proper linguistic process. And maybe in the next 10 or so years, we could have a language that is fluent and that can be used. But we need to ensure we safeguard the base of that language. It's a similar thing for the canoe. A lot of people have sort of lost interest because it's labor intensive, but we also realize it's a big part of our culture, and they are showing interest. So hence the engagement of Mr. Napoleon to do that. And so, Liam, when it's done, we'll have a manual that a young person who can possibly do some design, do some architectural drawings of the canoe, and keep that into serious industry that we could move forward. The costing part of it, Liam, is one that always interests a lot of young people in the carnival space. For the carnival period, during festivals, we want to have something that's unique, that stands out. And so Mr. Langley teaching that sort of skill set is so important because we do have a number of seamstresses an artist within that space, and they need to be exposed to the culture element of that thing. So it is something that came out of the of public discussion that people want to do. And even as we speak, like Shari said, we keep on hearing more things that people are willing to participate in. So it's an approach that utilizes the fact that people want this for themselves, and we are using the resources of the government in various ways, and through partnerships with the Jeff, for example, to ensure that we can continue to highlight and to protect those very important aspects of our heritage.
All right. Well. As I said, Minister, it was kind of picking up in my head. Listening to it. As you said, the that sort of part of that culture has mystically fallen off. So, kudos to you, Jeff, for coming on board with the ministry, to have that ongoing, so that the culture is preserved. Minister, I also want to ask you, because we heard mention about the tree planting activity in the Kalinago territory, and that is something that the ministry has been charged with since the inception. What some of the equipment that was donated to the ministry, what do you think it will do in assisting towards that resilience and reforestation and rehabilitation goals?
Right. So most of the equipment we got are actually for the propagation of plants that we'll use. We realize that there are a lot of endemic plants that grow within the Kalago space. And right across the country as well, we have to be very mindful that there are certain plants that will grow in certain areas. And so the division was given these tools and netting from these trees, from fox and speed, etc., to ensure that we could produce plants, healthy plants. And so when we go on the reforestation drive, we'll have all of the relevant trees, the appropriate trees, healthy trees to plant. So Liam, we didn't want to take it by chance that we'll just go out there and dig out a sapling and plant it. Want to make sure it's healthy. And in the entire process, Liam, we have ongoing training where people within the Kalago space, young people within the Kalago space, can also get trained in propagation of plants. Because Liam, we cannot take it the chance that the forest will go up by itself. I mean, there's a lot of work done by the forestry department, but we have to get a lot more people involved. And I think if people have access to plants and the planting material, they can help with that reforestation drive. Because then, if you realize that after Hurricane Maria, most of the forest was taken down, and we have to continuously safeguard against protecting some important trees, and especially those around the rivers or the watershed areas, to protect the water as a serious resource. So Liam, this is what we'll be doing, and the forestry department, they are very happy to get this, because continues on the work that they already do. So sort of magnify it, and to make sure that within the Kalago space we have the planting material to do the serious work of reforestation.
All right, thank you very much, Minister. We have just about 10 minutes extension given to us, but I want to ask our partners. I'm starting with Mrs. Moses Joseph, and then we go to Sawana, and then back to Shari. In terms of opportunities, what sort of opportunities do you believe that can be unlocked from these partnerships that we would have celebrated last week?
Okay, so we're going to be empowering local people. And that's what Israel does. We work from the ground up. We believe in working with communities and empowering the people to do better for themselves. So the equipment that we give to the disaster committees is not just about, we train before we know what equipment to give, and now we're going to train them how to use those equipment. So we have in the next couple of weeks coming up training that they'll be able to know how to use those equipments properly, from the chainsaw to the ropes, search and rescue, how to use the chainsaw, how to take care of it, all those things. And I think the opportunity there is to help people build their resilience, not just for the community, but for themselves. And I think that at the end of the day, when communities are prepared, then the country become better prepared and everybody benefits.
All right, thank you. Sao?
For specifically this project, I believe the value that we're adding, or the benefit that it's going to be for the people, is that we're supporting again capacity building across the outputs, as it relates to capacity building for agriculturists using innovation and new technologies, as we're going to be establishing a greenhouse park in the space. We're looking at understanding the challenges that we face, which is like water security and of course forest management, establishing a forest management policy for the Kalinago territory space particularly, and having the requisite trainings for the watershed management committees that is going to be established for the hamlets of the Kalinago space. Another benefit would be to receive, of course, grants in kind and also through microfinance mechanisms, particularly the Kalinago Development Fund, to be able to support the advancement of business as it relates to agriculture and tourism, MSMEs, supporting them, ensuring that they
Saul,
have
let me just hold it. We have a caller on the overseas line. Let's see if we can take that call quickly.
Okay, sure.
Caller, good morning. Welcome to the program. Okay. So, hello, caller. Good morning. Welcome to the program. Yes, you quickly call because we basically out of time. So go ahead quickly.
Okay, interesting program. And my concern is right. Recently, the minister is also on. We have seen and hearing people from the Kalinago territory, including the Kalinago chief, Mr. Stanford, right? In the Debosh area and speaking about environment and this and whatnot. Now that the minister himself is there, I don't know if he did already, but I have not heard him echoed any kind of concern, be it with or for or even in favor of the activity that is going on.
No. Caller. Let me just because as I said, hold on, caller, because we almost out of time. The Debosh situation is not for discussion on this program. We were discussing the activities.
Nobody's talking about the Concord. Concord is part
yeah,
of the
just hold on. Just listen. We were celebrating activities that were held last week, so we're not dealing with the Debosh issue on this particular program. At some point, we will deal with it, but unfortunately, it's not for this program. Thank you. So, Saul, go ahead.
Yes, so we're talking about supporting MSMEs and also agriculturists in terms of providing grants so that they can improve their businesses and also offer something very unique within the space or enhance already what is being offered in the space. And similarly to Shari and the Jeff project, we're also complementing each other in terms of the capacity building training as it relates to heritage and culture. So these are some of the things that persons within the space can look forward to. But ultimately, we are on the drive towards resilience. And so there are some things that can be learned through this process in terms of our partnerships, the way we deliver development in the Kalinago space. I think this will be benefits for our beneficiaries, but also government partners in terms of just the collaboration, the collective action that we'll approach the space with.
Shari, in terms of your opportunities, you believe that can be unlocked?
Yes, Liam. So first I want to say that the Kalinago people are the indigenous people of Dominica, and we should always remember that, and we should always respect that. They were the island's first explorers, and they were the ones who named the island Waitukubuli. As we sometimes say, tall is her body. That's what it means. And we need to always honor and remember their efforts in fighting off the European colonizers. Now, a Kalinago revival has been underway in the Kalinago territory for some time now. And, you know, the Ministry of Environment, Government of Dominica, and this project, Jeff-funded project, we are happy to partner with the Kalinago people to honor their knowledge and skills. And, you know, just to ensure that the knowledge is passed on. And that's really what we want to do. Continue to pass on the knowledge, the entrepreneurship skills. And I also remember something from last week quickly, Liam, that the minister said. You know, he said that we need to honor the past 3 generations and also look to the 3 generations ahead. And that's something that stuck with me last week. And so this project, along with all the other projects, I'm sure, that's something that we intend to do and we look forward to doing. So we continue to look at the skills and the knowledge, the traditional knowledge of the Kalinago people, and we understand the expertise and their experience in their various areas.
All right, Alice, I know we're almost out of time, but I can't let you go without contributing. My question to you, though, Alice, in terms of the all of the trainings and, just basically the partnerships that are have been signed and, on board with the ministry, your role as the Kalinago Development Officer, are you really happy, looking forward to what is to come as it makes your job easier in the Kalinago territory?
Definitely, I think you hit the nail right on its head. And what we're seeing here, these collaborations and partnerships with our esteemed partners, it's kind of like more than twofold or threefold, because we're looking at capacity building, we're looking at cultural and heritage preservation. We're looking at environmental protection of deforestation. We're looking at sustainability and climate resilience. And this fusion, it touches everything. Small business development, because you have the trainings that will come on the Samanas program of the small businesses, the cassava, all of that. Then you have tourism and agriculture fusion here. You have environment protection. And like Shari said, echoing again what the minister said, we have to look at the legacy of the Kalinago people. And we have to ensure that what we're doing today will continue to last generations to come. Again, echoing what the minister said, 3 generations, honoring the past 3 generations and looking at how we can protect and have sustainability for the next 3 generations. So these partnerships is exactly what we're looking for. And when we look at Kalinago development and Kalinago upliftment, that is the kind of upliftment that we're talking about. Tangible upliftment, not just in the people, but in the community, in the Kalinago space, in the structure, in agriculture, in tourism, in small business enterprise, everything. So you're building like the whole person. Okay, so if you have to look at it directly or indirectly, everybody will be touched by this massive transformation and revolution that we're doing within the Kalinago space. And to top it up, everything that we're talking about here is going to go back again to the center that we're building. It's the Kalinago Territory Multipurpose Center and Emergency Shelter. So in time of a storm that we can go into this mode, we are fully prepared. Equipment is available. People are trained. People can respond. And people can be resilient. And Kalinago, if you think of Kalinago, the food, cassava, a resilient crop. Resilient people, building strong people so that we have sustainability. After someone leaves and the project ends, there is sustainability so that it can pass on. We're touching the children, the young students in the school, this knowledge that we're transferring, the books, the stories that we're reading. My daughter had one of the UNDP books to talk about the story of the Kalinago, so these are things that will touch generations to come, and this is the type of capacity that we're talking about. And when we speak about Kalinago upliftment, that is what we're speaking about. And we're so happy to see that all our partners are able to work together. It is not a competition. We are complementing each other. And the minister here is championing this cause, and we are again building a climate resilient nation with climate resilient people, with climate resilient partners. And this is what we're talking about. Building the climate resilient nation, this is what it is. Tangible, physical, tangible, not just saying it, but actually doing it. The planting of the trees. A few years from now, Sawana and Shari have to come and look at the trees and look at this. We planted this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, So this is the kind of collaboration that we're looking for. And we would definitely want to thank our persons. And like Minister said, we have our own people, Dominicans. Sawana was in Belize. She left Belize to come back to her country to build this program in the Kalinago space. So that is something that we have to honor. And yes, we are not living on the protection of the environment. All of this is inclusive. There's Crayfish River, there's Maho River, there's Corlet River, rivers running through the territory that we are now trying to save. So we're definitely thankful to all our partners for bringing these synergies together within the Kalinago space. And our Kalinago people now accepting it and holding it and honoring it and owning it as we continue to champion that cause.
All right, thank you very much, Alice. As we wrap up the program, well, when you made mention about the competition, Sawana and Shari just had a look to each other. I don't know what it meant. I'm not going to say or I'm not going to assume, but let's just leave that alone. So, ladies first, Minister, we'll close with you as we wrap up the program. Just your final words and maybe your main takeaways from last week's activities. I'm not too sure who's going to go first.
Well, Thank you, Liam. I just want to say that I spend a lot of my time thinking about how I can make the Carnago territory and my country a much better place that I can live in trust of my grandson and my great grandchildren. I don't get distracted at all by anything else. I know that there are serious international partners and local people who want to see that in their own lifetime. So I look to them for that support. I was gifted this opportunity to serve people by the good people of the Cyber constituency, and I wanted to continue honoring them, to ensure that what I do as part of national development has an embedded part of it within the Carnago space. So I'm so happy for this opportunity to serve and to have good partners who understand the mission of making our country better, one community at a time. And the Carnago territory is a good space to start because as the original people, we do have a lot of knowledge that we can share with the rest of the country and also humanity. I'm really happy that apart from the roads and the homes and all of those wonderful investments we're making, we're also investing in people to ensure that they can continue to survive and also importantly to carry the heritage forward in a meaningful way. So I really want to thank for those partners in helping me to do that serious work that we do within our space.
All right, thank you, Minister. Mrs. Joseph.
Yeah, thank you very much. At the end of the day, it's all about people. It's all about empowering people to be prepared and build their resilience. Most importantly, I am very happy and appreciative that I got the opportunity to work with these beautiful ladies and the Kalinago people in the Kalinago space, and will continue to respect their space, respect their culture, and empower them to the best of our ability to ensure that at the end of the day, our projects are successful, but the success will only depend on how much we involve the people, and that's our mandate. And I'm looking forward to working with them.
Sawana?
Yes, I think Shari and I smile because we understand the power of partnerships, and we're looking at power of partnerships on all levels, and so we're very appreciative of the fact that we are within that space and the Ministry of Environment creating that enabling environment for us to be able to do our work and do it efficiently, and also for the Kalinago space, they have created a space for us to be able to collaborate and speak and partner. And so this is something that we're going to be looking forward to even more, the collaboration, the coordination, the efforts that we make to ensure that our development is about the people and it's by the people.
All right, Shari?
Okay, Liam, I just want to say that, my work with the Ministry of Environment, and so we are very happy that we received this grant funding from the Global Environment Facility being implemented by the World Bank, and we are putting the funds to good use. The largest component of this funded project is for activities within the Kalinago space, and we are happy to be implementing along with our partners here today. So we look forward to everything that's to come.
All right, Alice, quickly as we wrap up.
Liam, I don't think there's nothing much to say, but just a thank you to all our partners, and thank you so much. We look forward to really making some change within the Kalinago space and leaving the mark for the next 3 generations to come.
All right, thank you very much to Alice. Thank you very much to Sawana. Thank you very much to Shari, and thank you very much to Mrs. Moses Joseph for joining us. Again, I want to apologize for the technical difficulties that we had today. What we will do a little later on today, we will air some videos of the ceremonies last week on our Facebook page as well as DBS Facebook page, so you guys can have a look at that. Thank you very much for joining us on this week's program. As usual, next week, God's Pay, we will be there live on DBS Radio on Talking Environmental Responsibility. Thank you very much to my guests, and thank you very much to the listeners for listening. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Liam.
Thank you for having us. Goodbye.